Hi, Vanessa here. Welcome back. Today we are making stitch markers. Okay, so this is an update for my old stitch marker tutorial made a few years back. So here's an example of a couple of different ones that I made. So these are really fun and easy to make. So here's another example. These were from Halloween. Okay, so down in the description box, I'll go ahead and leave a link for materials that I'm using today in this tutorial. So we will start with beads. So you can really go with any beads you'd like. Every time I'm at Joann's or Michael's, they have really great sales based on the color of the product. So here are just a few that I had laying around. Okay, so you can use any beads you'd like, or a combination of beads. Okay, and then you'll need some glass beads. So this one here is smaller than these ones. So you can pick these up at any of your local craft stores as well. Okay, so I use those little glass beads on the top and bottom of the stitch marker. And to hold it all together, you'll need little tiny crimp beads. Okay, so they look like this. So I have different colors. So these are 1.5 to 2 millimeters. The wires that you'll be using will be about 0.38 millimeters. Okay, so here I have, these are different colors. Just kind of fun to play with. So this one has a pink one on it because it's a pink owl. And, or you could just get plain silver. So this one here is 0.3, and then these are 0.38. Okay, so you have lots of options. Okay, so you'll need a wire cutter or a really sharp pair of scissors. It's really up to you. So I prefer to just use the scissors. And you'll need a tweezer of some sort if you have trouble picking up your beads and pieces. And then you need some type of clamp to squeeze your crimp beads, okay? And just grab a ruler of some sort so you can measure how long you want your wire. So you want to use trays or anything to hold your beads and crimp beads. I just have my little crimp beads and glass beads laying here on my table. I wouldn't recommend that because they're really tiny. I'm getting ready to do another tutorial, so I'm in a bit of a rush. Okay, and then this nifty little case I actually got at the Dollar Tree. So it's in their tool section, hardware. So it's made for like nails and stuff, but it works great for little tiny things like beads. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to be using this silver beading wire. This is the 0.3 millimeter. Okay, so you want to cut about 4 to 5 inches of beading wire. I'm going to work with one that's 4 inches and one with 5, so you could see and determine what size you'd like to use. You can use your wire cutter or a pair of scissors. These are really thin, so I just like to use my scissors. And then once I cut one, I just use that as a base to measure the rest of them. You can make them smaller if you like. You can grab your needle and place it on there and measure it that way to make sure there's plenty of room for the beads and also to go around your needle. Okay, starting with the 4-inch beading wire. Okay, so I'm going to use 2 different beads. Okay, so I'm going to use these 2 as my main beads. And then I'm choosing to go with the smaller glass beads. So you'll need 2 of these. And then if you can't grip it with your fingers, use a tweezer. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is fold it in half where the tips meet without pinching that part right there. And you're going to grab your crimp bead. I'm going to use just a silver one. So it's like a little tube. Okay, it's really tiny. There it is. Okay, I'm going to place the two ends through. Okay, so right there you can see that I've inserted the wires through the tube. Okay, so if you're not using a tweezer, you can just place one on your palm and then stick the ends through it. Okay, and you want to slide this up until the loop is the size that you want. Just stop before it gets too small. Again, you can use your needle to measure. Okay, that's good for me. Now make sure the ends meet because they will shift around. And then go ahead and grab your tool. Okay, once you sort of put the bead on your clamp, don't press just yet, and you can slide back and forth. Okay, until you are happy with the size of your loop, and just place it in between and squeeze it. Okay, so what that does is it'll hold in place and your beads won't slip around. Okay, so because sometimes the holes are big here on the beads depending on what you're using. So let's see, let me find one. So right here, this hole is a little bit larger. So okay, so I'm going to place a little glass bead after the crimp bead, just in case your beads have a large hole. You don't want it sliding up. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to place the top bead, which is this coral color here. Okay, see, that prevents it from moving up. Now I'm going to place my turquoise bead. Okay, so now that we have the main bead on, we're going to place another glass bead. Okay, I've got the glass bead in there. Now you want to place a crimp bead at the very end. Okay, another crimp bead. Okay, so I have the crimp bead in there. I'm going to grab my tool again, and you want to make sure that it's tight. Okay, so now you want to just grab the crimp bead and squeeze. Okay. Now I go right up against the crimp bead and I cut off the excess. Okay, so there is your stitch marker. Okay, so this stitch marker uses the 4-inch wire, and it measures about 1.5 inches long. Okay, so for the 5-inch wire, I'm going to use these beads here. They're going to be about the same height, basically. So I just wanted to show you how much room you have with the 5-inch. Okay, so again, first we start with the crimp bead. Okay, very tiny little bead here. I like to just hold it in my fingers because I have better control that way. So I'm going to slide it up. Let's make it the same size as this one. Okay, that looks good. Clamp it. So let's go with that size right there, and then you can squeeze and tighten. Okay, so next is the glass bead. Okay. And then I'm going to put the smaller bead in and the larger bead. Okay, so I'm going to place another glass bead. Okay, so you see here you sort of have more tail to work with, if that's better for you. It's really personal preference. Okay, so I'm going to put the final piece, which is the crimp bead. Okay, so what I do is I place my fingers right at the top here, hold it upside down so that everything falls down, let gravity do its work. And then when you grab the crimp bead, remember you can pull it down. Okay, so when you grab it, don't tighten, and then pull it down just to make sure you squeeze everything down. Okay, and then you can squeeze it and tighten it. Alright, so now I'm going to cut off this piece down here. Just get really close up to the crimp bead with your scissors or your wire cutter, and then just cut it off. And there you have it. Okay, so these are really fun to make. The possibilities are endless with so many beads out there and different combinations. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this updated video of my DIY stitch markers, and I'll see you next time.